It's an amazing country that we live in. And one of the reasons is because we've separated out these holidays in a way that others haven't. And we have Veterans Day, where we celebrate everyone who served in combat in the country's history. We have Armed Forces Day, where we remember everyone who's served, regardless of whether or not we actually took the country to war during that period of time. But Memorial Day is unique. Memorial Day is the day that we remember those who didn't come back. We very specifically remember the people who made that ultimate sacrifice so that we can sit here and talk about nonsense on the internet, so that we can go home and raise our kids. As as someone who did come back but knows those who didn't, what sort of special way do you recognize Memorial Day when it comes along every year?
Well, I live here in San Diego, California, and in San Diego, California, at the top of a place called Point Loma, there's Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery, and I got three of my friends are buried up there. Three of the guys that worked for me, two of them died in the Battle of Ramadi, and one of them died later on in a training accident. And there's a lot of other SEALs, and then obviously thousands of other servicemen are buried up there. So, that's what I do. I go up there on Memorial Day, and I go see my old friends.
So I don't want to make the segment political. Memorial Day is not a political holiday. It's a day where all Americans of all persuasions can come together and honor the sacrifice of those who've allowed us to engage in political debate on other days. But there is one thing that happens in a democratic society that's somewhat unique, and it's that we relitigate all of our past decisions and we make them political after the fact. You see it happening right now as the president contemplates a withdrawal from Afghanistan, as we see the Taliban perhaps becoming partners in a negotiated peace settlement in Afghanistan after warring against them, for maybe the longest war in the history of the country. You saw it during the previous administration when there was a drawdown of our forces in Iraq. We've obviously all lived through some version of the shifting political narrative around the Vietnam War. As a soldier, as someone who was there, who sacrificed on the ground, who saw other people make even greater sacrifices, what does a soldier make of their sacrifices in the face of those sort of changing political narratives over time?
For me, I think what's different for folks that served and went into combat is that we actually know what it was like on the ground. And so for me, having served in Baghdad and then the Battle of Ramadi, I got to see what it was like for the local citizens of Ramadi, to know that they were living under the most heinous and sadistic group of people that you could ever imagine, that they cheered when we would kill insurgents, that they helped us to try and root out the insurgents. And so from that perspective on the ground, I know that we were doing the right thing. And if I had to do it again, I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing now in helping and taking some of those lessons that you learned in the service, in the SEALs, and helping other people learn about leadership and how to make their lives better with some of those same principles?
Yeah, when I got home from the Battle of Ramadi, one of the most important things that I brought back was the lessons that we learned, the lessons we learned in combat. And I ended up taking over the training for the West Coast SEAL teams. And the training that I took over wasn't the training where you see guys carrying logs on their shoulders and carrying boats on their head. The training that I took over was the tactical training, where we teach them to shoot, move, and communicate, and where we teach SEALs leadership, combat leadership. And so I immediately started teaching the principles that I had learned throughout my career, but really that I had solidified and crystallized in the Battle of Ramadi. Started teaching those to the young SEAL leaders. When I ended up retiring from the SEAL teams, I worked with a civilian company and immediately realized that everything that I had learned about leadership in the SEAL teams applied to any aspect of leadership in any environment, leading any kind of team. And the translations are universal. And it doesn't matter if you're leading a group on the battlefield trying to capture or kill a bad guy, or you are, leading an organization that's trying to produce something or sell something. Leadership is leadership is leadership. And so now I have a company called Echelon Front, and that's what we do. We work around the country and around the world, teaching people leadership and helping them get their leaders in their organization aligned so they can lead and win.
What do you think would be most interesting to people who've not served in the military? one of the things that's always interesting to me about Tier 1 operators is that nothing like them has ever existed in all of human history, right? We have this idea of what a soldier's life is like. We might even have an idea of what special forces are like, but you get these guys now who are the most lethal, the most highly trained, the most capable. I think of them as like the pro athletes. Like, everybody could play ball in high school. Only the best could go play in college. Only the very best could make the pros. And then there's that top echelon, the guys, the Tom Brady's or whatever, and those wind up being these sort of Tier 1 guys who exist. We've never seen their like, I don't think, in the history of warfare. What kind of people does it take? What are the special qualities that those people have?
Well, I'm not here to get into a bunch of disagreements with you, but if you look at the tradition of the American fighting man, this is an unmatched tradition of men that are braver than you could ever imagine. If you look at the guys that stormed the beaches of Normandy, if you look at the people that went through the Pacific Campaign, if you look at the frozen mountains of Korea, you can go to any war and you can find people that are unbelievably brave and courageous and very, very lethal. And I think, I know that the video is edited down a bit from the original form, but the main point of that Memorial Day video was to remind people that the soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine that we refer to, they're not just warriors. They're actually human beings. They're actually people. And if there's anything that I would say people that I would try and, how you phrase the question, what would people want to know? People should know that these soldiers at every level, soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, they're human beings, and they have families, their brothers, their sisters, their fathers, their sons, their husbands, their wives. They have hopes and dreams. They have things that they want to accomplish in their life, and they're willing to put all that on the line for the freedom and the way of life that we have in this country.
Hey, it's me, Jeremy Boring. You already know that, of course. That's because you just watched the Daily Wire Backstage. As the cigar smoke settles after another perfectly executed episode, why not ensure you never miss out on Daily Wire content? Go ahead and give that subscribe button a push. I'll wait. There you go. That's it. Much obliged, my friend. We will see you next time.